Hello BookTube. Before I start with my wrap-up, I need to say a huge thank you to Britta. Britta, I don't know what made you choose me, but thank you so much for all the kind words and for boosting my subscriber count. I almost had heart failure when I saw what had happened. I didn't know what on earth had happened to my channel, that suddenly it had increased by 15%, which is quite a substantial amount considering that, you know, 1 or 2 subscriber increases, it's like usually yay. But thank you so much for everything, and I'm going to link Britta's channel down below. If you happen to be on BookTube and not subscribed to Britta, you're missing out. I'll put her channel down below. It's intelligent, it's witty, and it's about female authors, which makes a pleasant change. Next up, welcome to all my new subscribers, and of course my old ones. Today is just going to be a quick reading wrap-up. I only read 1 book this week, but then it was the first week back at work, and if anybody here is a teacher, you'll know the first week of the academic year is crazy. And it was a new school for me again, so that was extra crazy. And it's still in not my home language. 3 times crazier than it should have been. I hope I know what's going on. I think I might, but I'm not 100% sure. But we'll see what happens. If everything works smoothly next week coming, then things are going right. Anyway, let me get on with my wrap-up. So the one and only book that I read this week was The House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. And as I've said to my friend who bought this book for me, thanks Robin, you don't just read House of Leaves, you experience it. But before I start with that, it's massive, okay, I'm putting this down. There's also a massive size, so I was like, how do I fit my face in here with this book? So before I start with all of that, let me give you a bit of a brief synopsis, which is actually not going to be brief, because how do you do this briefly? So you need to keep in mind 3 things. The first one is that there was this guy by the name of Will Navidson, who was a Pulitzer Prize journalist. He's actually based on, oh good lord, what was his name? Kevin Graham? I'll put his name down below. He was a South African journalist who took the photograph of the Sudanese girl who turned out to be a boy being stalked by a vulture. You could see this child was starving. And a bit later, he committed suicide. But anyway, he's roughly based on this real life character. But anyway, he is now deciding under pressure to settle down with, it's not quite the wife, they live together, they got kids, but anyway, common law wife. They're going to settle down in the country, and he is going to calm down. And, well, it's not like he has a wild life, but he has a dangerous life. And he basically is going to film this whole process, because filming is what he does. And, you know, the moving in and the settling down process of moving into the country. And, of course, this house is not what it seems. It's larger on the inside, and there's this maze and all sorts of crazy things that are going on. So he filmed this, and it became known as the Navidson record. There were short clips and everything else that came with it. And now you get the second guy, Zampano, and he is an old blind man who then went and studied this. And he basically gives you what happened in the movie, plus academic commentary on it, plus some of his own comments and research and things like that. So he takes a story and he makes it academic research. And then he dies, and this is where the story starts, is where Johnny Truant now comes to his house, and there he finds this massive chest with all of Zampano's research in it, and he compiles basically the book that we're, The House of Leaves. So you have Zampano's research on Will Navidson's filming, with Johnny Truant's side notes in it on his life and what's going on, because you can watch his mental decay as the story is progressing. So that's kind of interesting already. Then, as I said, you don't read this book, you experience it. So, as I said, this house has got a maze in it. And when you read those chapters, it is like reading a maze, because you have a tunnel that you go through and it goes nowhere. So you go back. Then it's got passages down the left-hand side. So you read the left-hand side until it tells you to read the right hand side. So you turn the book around. Well, you're supposed to. I just read upside down. I'm a teacher. I can do these things. And then you read all the way back until you're back where you started. And then when you're following the footnotes, you realize at times that you're going in circles. So you feel like you're in the maze. You're experiencing this. And while I absolutely love this, I mean, I have never read a book like this in my life before. This was complete and utter novelty for me, and I enjoyed every minute of it because I've never seen anything like this. The price of this book, I could buy 9 books. I would never have bought it for myself. Thank you, Robin. Have I ever told you you're nuts? But so anyway, because of the layout, the crazy, crazy layout, I found it activated my analytical mind a little bit too much because I was judging what he was doing, analyzing why he was doing, appreciating what he was doing, but I wasn't scared. I was expecting to have my pants scared off. My pants stayed safely on my bum. Glad to hear that. But so there was that side of it. The other part that makes it feel like a maze is that you don't know how far you are in the book because you read parts and then you read appendices, well, sections in the appendices, and then you go back and you read some more in the appendices. So basically, I think I was around page 500 and I was by page 300 and I was really at 500 or something. It's very hard to keep tabs on where you actually are in this book or in this maze. As to the writing, though, I'm not 100% sure. Some of it is really bland, like those passages down the side that I was telling you about. They're just lists. So obviously, skim reading comes into play because it's not like I know any of these buildings that he was talking about or the people who designed them when you went back. So I did a lot of skimming, but I did read everything just in case something important came up that I missed. So there were parts like that were a bit bland, and I was wondering if maybe he had continued a storyline along those paths, whether it might have made the reader feel that this tunnel passage might have been heading somewhere only to then go back to where they were. The style for the Zampano's part is very academic. So be warned if you don't like reading academic writing. This isn't beautiful prose. This is academia. When you get to Johnny Truant's, though, it gets interesting because you can see he's not the most educated person. He makes grammar errors. He says could of instead of could have. And that is, that tweaked my little red pen nerve there. It really stimulated it. If it weren't for the fact that, I don't write in my books, I would have trawled this with a red pen. But, so you can see he's not exactly the most educated person going, but then he does have very purple vocabulary throughout in places. So it's a mix-up as to how I feel about him. But you can watch his mental decline. Not that I really thought he started off well, because young men with that goal in mind, I'm a female, I don't get it. I kind of wonder what is wrong with them. But anyway, so in the beginning he starts off shagging anything that wears a skirt that's not Scottish, and until you start getting to his mental decline as he gets further and further into organizing these notes and things, and that part gets interesting as well. I hope I'm not giving too much away. I mean, talking about it like this is pretty much an academic view on it. In fact, that's the one thing I should say, is that I actually think that this book is satire on academia. How somebody can take something and overanalyze absolutely everything out of it. I mean, everything is analyzed. Somebody looked at someone, that's going to be analyzed. Why he used this word in this letter, that's going to be analyzed. Let's look at the psyche of so-and-so. Let's look at this, and let's haul out Greek mythology. So I really think it was satire on academia, and a part of me enjoyed that because I've witnessed it. And, sometimes a house is just a house. I know you're not supposed to say that when you're an English teacher, but there's only so much that you can overanalyze in life before you start going crazy yourself. Anyway, I am currently reading Cider with Rosie by Laurie Lee, which is, I don't know if you can see this. I'm still trying to sort out my lighting in this place. Can you see? No. This is autobiographical by the sounds of it, and it's also a vintage classic, so I'm going to see how that goes. I'm only 30 odd pages in so far. It's also a bit purple, although it's not that it doesn't fit with the rest of the prose, but I'm not too sure where it's going. I have no idea about this guy at all, but we'll see how it goes. I don't think this one should take too long, so even though I know I have a hectic week up ahead, maybe I'll get this one done this week. You're just going to have to put up with me. Work has to come first, folks, unfortunately. Otherwise, I can't buy any more books. And talking about buying books, I don't usually do book hauls. But man, you have to appreciate the beauty of this. Lamentation by C.J. Sansom. Finally got my hands on it. And Tombland is sitting there at my favorite bookshop. And I'm really, really wanting to buy it. But I'm using some self-restraint at the moment because I'm not going to read this one right now. I don't want to stop reading C.J. Sansom when I pick him up. So I'm going to save this one for the holiday. And then when I'm finished this one, then I'll think about Tombland. And who knows, maybe it's dropped a bit in price by then. This is called responsible book buying in my books. It doesn't mean you stop buying, you just try and spread it out to when it drops in price. Anyway, that is it from me for now. I once again would like to wish everyone and my new subscribers and my old ones, because I love them too, all the best. Happy reading. Chat to you soon. Bye.